This was an interesting article that passed through the social media sphere and seemed to leave nary a dent, especially given like the news yesterday. Um, it's kind of astonishing how over the last several years we have had just been inundated with how companies are collecting our personal data and how that personal data has been used to do everything from DNA tests checked against like ancestry.com samples to entire like industries being put out of business like sex work online. Um, it's really pretty incredible. But I think that this is moving into like company overreach into um, enabling fascism. So this article, scars, tattoos, and license plates. What this is what Palantir and the LAPD know about you. So basically, BuzzFeed News got a hold of some internal police documents and training manuals that kind of throw into the spotlight how the LAPD over the last like 10 years has been using Palantir, Peter Thiel's kind of uh, spying startup. That's basically what it is. Palantir is a tech company that basically just grabs a whole bunch of data and is able to sort through it and analyze it very quickly. Um, and the LAPD has been using this to find people. And you might be like, oh, well, they're using it to find criminals. Like, just criminals are going to be in its database or whatever. No, actually. um, the LAPD has been accumulating an astonishing data set that includes stuff from like traffic cameras. So one of the quotes from this article is if you have driven through Los Angeles at any point since 2015, uh, they're going to be able to find you, find your license plate number, find pictures of the day that you drove through LA, find where you went on that day in LA, and basically track you through the city. Um, and with this technology, they are able to, you know, do everything from doing that minuscule kind of data set to being like, oh, you got a tip from some schmuck who's like, yeah, there was a guy who had like a purple demon tattoo on his right bicep, and they're going to be able to put that into their data like center, into their Palantir terminal, and find everyone who has a tattoo that fits that description. Um, Basically, they have everything about you and who you know, who you're romantically involved with, what your phone number is, where you've lived, like every kind of thing that you might need to know or want to know about somebody, they have. And that again, this is a private company, Palantir, that has all of this information and like leases its services to the LAPD. So all of that private information that you've put out into the world on the internet, yeah, Palantir probably gets that and can add it to its data set. And while we're just talking about Los Angeles, you can imagine basically the entire United States has something like this, or having something like this. This is the kind of stuff, by the way, that Edward Snowden was trying to warn us about when he leaked the data about how the NSA was spying on Americans and collecting data, and we didn't do anything about it. And so this is the result. Not only is the government still spying on us and collecting data, but now private companies have taken the additional step of not just collecting data, but using that data and providing it to the government, selling you to the government in exchange for profit. So that's kind of where we're at right here. And just a little additional dig. Palantir comes from Lord of the Rings, and it really galls me that Peter Thiel is using Lord of the Rings for evil. I don't like that. It's like Sauron using the Palantir for evil. Weird. Um, let's see here. Yeah, so LAPD's Palantir database includes information from the DMV, meaning people with a California driver's license can be swept into Palantir. It also includes 1 billion pictures taken of license plates from traffic lights and toll booths in Los Angeles and neighboring areas. Um, it's it's pretty awful. Um, yeah, let's take a look here. It's not, by the way, it's not just the LAPD. It's also all of the cops in their school police department, and their surrounding districts in colleges. So, uh, and basically, activists are saying like, well, this is an overreach and like invasion of privacy, and B, um, this is just going to worsen the racial discrepancies that already exist, because instead of using these resources, this sizable amount of resources that are required to build a database like this, and to train officers to use it and to maintain it, those are things we could instead be spending on these low income areas that are disproportionately African American and Latino. And instead of like over policing them, we could, have more social workers, help people succeed. And so there is this concept that I learned about relatively recently. I think it's really helpful. It's a really helpful way to kind of understand specifically low income areas, because a lot of the time people will say, specifically conservatives will say, oh, well, they should go out and get a job. They're just waiting for handouts. And I just want to say that there is and the thing I learned about is the difference between positive and negative freedom. And so when they're saying, oh, they should just get a job, they are invoking negative freedom. And negative freedom is basically saying, well, you hypothetically can do anything. And so that's something that America in particular has a lot of. We have a lot of negative freedom. However, positive freedom is where the state, for example, intervenes so that everyone can achieve what they set out to do. Because with negative freedom, you just say, "Yep, those are all the institutional hurdles and all of the the things that are preventing you from doing something. But you know what? You have the right to pursue it. Good luck." Whereas with positive freedom, you're like, "Okay, you want to become a doctor? We'll help you go to medical school. We will help you get there, right? It's helping people achieve the freedom that they desire." And so we could be implementing that sort of positive freedom, that kind of emphasis in low income areas as a way of addressing the disproportionate societal inequities that we face as like a nation. But we don't. Instead, what we do is we keep these areas poor, and then we use them as scapegoats for rich people to use it. Or sorry, we use rich people use them as scapegoats to kind of justify, see, they can't achieve anything, or to point to if they're racist, like how black people are just genetically inferior. They can't achieve like white people can, or some bullshit like that. And those are very valuable. Those are very valuable things for capitalists to invoke, for the rich to invoke, because it protects their class interests. And not only that, but by keeping these areas poor, they guarantee their businesses a steady flow of both desperate consumers who are forced to buy like cheap products that are overwhelmingly going to benefit them, like are overwhelmingly going to profit the rich. It also forces poor people to live kind of in a subsistence kind of way. So, your entire paycheck goes to your rent and to food, and whatever little else you get, you aren't going to be able to save up to, for example, start a business or try and invest to, get something back. No, you aren't going to be able to do that because you can't save money. So having a desperate population like that is what enables like fast food chains to make billions in profit. It's what enables you know the rich to have maid services, or it basically our entire economy in the United States is a service economy. And so having this poor underclass allows the rich to continue to function. And so there is this built-in class incentive for them not to allow the nation to prioritize social workers for the poor, or enabling the poor to achieve their dreams. Because you know what? Poor people don't grow up dreaming of being poor. Like, and no one who is poor is like, man, this rocks. The government sending me money, love it. No one does that. No one. That's actually a myth created by Reagan in the 1970s. And it's called the myth of the welfare queen. And guess what? Welfare queens didn't exist. I mean, there are some people who do take advantage of the system, but the amount of people who do that and are able to successfully get away with it are so minuscule that it in no way kind of justifies the way that we approach welfare or supporting people who are out of work or the disabled. Like, all of these things, we could be doing so much better. And if you look around the world, there are much poorer nations than the United States who do a much better job supporting these people. And so basically, what you have with Palantir is a an automated system that collects information specifically about these people, not necessarily about the rich and powerful. The people who are going to be targeted by this are these poor underclass people who have been fed this negative freedom and then blamed for it when they aren't able to achieve because of the institutional roadblocks and like societal attitudes that they face as they try and achieve those goals. So this is really scary because it is one extremely powerful overarching surveillance system that is designed pretty much explicitly to monitor minorities and people who weren't born into money. And that's pretty messed up. Pretty messed up. Yeah, like here are a few examples of how you can narrow something down: male, white, gang affiliation, tattoo. Um, it's and again, I we have to remember when we're looking at something like this that crime has been falling. Like, we are currently in one of the most peaceful times in the history of the United States. And somehow we are still able to justify creating systems like Palantir and having the police spy on us. Um, and remember, in the United States, it takes like what, a couple weeks to become a police officer. You got to go to training for several weeks, maybe a couple months, and you are suddenly given the keys to a system that can spy on everyone who lives around you. Um, that's I feel like everyone should be able to obviously look at that and be like, oh, yeah, that's insane. We shouldn't do that. But alas, we do not live in such a world. Instead, I suspect that what will happen is that Palantir will become more and more prevalent around the United States, and eventually we'll live in a dystopian hellscape where private corporations are used as police to spy on us. So, yeah. Uh, Again, don't take the doomer pill. Don't do it. But also, we need to recognize that this is very bad, and yeah, we should probably just be aware of that. And if the opportunity arises to protest it or try and get rid of it, we should pretty much, under all circumstances, take that. So yeah, that's that's a thing.